Greetings of the day. My name is Magdalene Cheryl Ravi. So I'm here to do the video presentation for the module 7045 SSL Business Analytics and Intelligence. So here to begin with, I'm going to start with a brief introduction about the research which I have done. So basically, the introduction is about the presentation is on the analysis of on the data for 10 women's clothing companies in the UK. So the data has been collected on five variables, including annual turnover, number of employees, profit margin, net tangible assets, and also return on capital from 10 UK clothing brand companies, which is online. So basically, this is collected for the year 2013 to 2022. So the goal is to analyze the historical data to identify patterns and gain insights. So if I move on to the next slide, I would like to say about the background. So in the next slides, I would talk about the background. So what is the background? So it is about the FAME database that's used to collecting information and annual turnover that is also dependent on the variable. So the online women's fashion clothing market is competitive. So with the presence of several players, based on the data for 2021 and 2022, the top player in the sector is Bahu.com. So if you see, New Look and Uniqlo are also two key players with a high annual turnover. So there is another online clothing fashion company which is Burberry Group. These are few companies that are relatively lower in turnover for the year 2021 and 2022. So if I just go to the next slides, it explains about the key concepts. So what is a key concept? So here I would clearly like to say about the annual turnover. So basically the independent variable used for analysis, including annual turnover plus the number of employees. So profit margin is being clearly influenced the annual turnover for a company. So employees are paid wages, which adds to the company expenses and influences turnover, profit margin, and also may impact turnover by determining selling price and creating or discouraging demands. So what it clearly tells is that the physical assets such as equipments and tools that contribute to production is effectively active, and also it is very efficiently and effectively, and also it production quality and thus the sales turnover and influence turnover by determining profitability over capital used. So these are the most key concepts of this particular companies that are chosen in terms to contribute to production effectively. So if I move on to the next slide, it also explains about the visual dashboard. So I have picked few companies and I have presented a pie diagram which have been created in based of the annual highest average employed people for these particular companies. So if you see John Lewis, it has employed the most people on average between 2013 and 2022. So the company employed as many as employees, such as, like, for example, if I would give you a um, number, it is about 84,970 up to people have been employed on average for the 10 years. For these 10 years that I've been talking about from 2013 to 2022. And also on the other hand, the lowest number of people was employed by Hobbs over the 10 years. On average, the company employed only 985 people, so which is also clearly explained on the chart. So next, I would move on to the chart which also explains about the companies that I was talking about. So this is also the diagram about the average, and I've presented in a table which shows the data. So you can have a look onto that. So next is the predictive analytics. So what is predictive analytics is about the variable number of employees and profit margins which have been having a weak and negative correlation with annual turnover. So the variable has a strong and positive associate with annual turnover, whereas a weak but a positive relationship with annual turnovers. So this is basically mentioning about the excessive employees may place constraints on wage expenses, while huge margins can increase selling price and affect demand. So this is basically explaining about the correlation with the annual turnover. So also I have presented the uh, a column which explains the turnover, employees, net tangible profit margin. So you can see the data here with the numbers. So this is also about the predictive analysis that I've done for the multiple regression statistics, and also you have this coefficient, standard error, and intercept employees, profit margin, and net tangible assets. So you can check the numbers here. If I move on to the next slide, it's about the descriptive analysis. So here we talk about the highest average turnovers, which is made by New Look over the last 10 years. So Uniqlo has the second highest turnover, whereas Bohu.com has the third highest turnover. So on the other hand, Next PLC takes the lead on the highest average profit margin. So what it basically says is that while the mean value refers to the average, um, the median refers to the value in middle of the database. So the median values such as for turnover are close to the mean value. So it means that the distribution in the database is symmetrical. So here also on the image I have put in the data and also the numbers along with the amount. So it is about the average turnover for 2013 to 22, and also you can see which has the highest number of turnovers. So on to the next slide, I'm just talking about the conclusion. So here actually I would like to tell about the conclusion is that we have been doing regression analysis, and also the tables indicate the impact of independent variable on the dependent factor. Um, so it is also clearly explaining about the employees and profit margins, which also create a negative impact on turnover. The industry has both struggling and profitable players. So I would also say that the women's online clothing sector in the UK has both profitable and unsustainable business models. So while companies such as Next PLC and Burberry have huge profit margin, so companies such as Hobbs are running on a negative margin. Uh, Others are keeping the margins positive but also too low. Therefore, it is important that the firm starts optimizing the factors that have the potential to negatively influence the annual turnover. So this is basically about the research that I have done on the women's clothing company. And on the next slide, I have added my references, so you can have a look onto the references that I've used for my research work. Well, I would like to say thanks for listening to my video presentation, and I would also like to thank my module leader and my seminar tutor for helping me to do this business analytics research, which would really help me in the future and also help me build the career. Thank you.